Not that long ago, I met this girl who tried doing things with me that I don't even want to say on camera, but I will later in the story. This all started right after my first ever breakup. At this time, I felt really bad about myself. I felt bored. I felt like there was nothing to do. And I felt like the kid that I used to be all the way back in elementary school when I was looking for a girlfriend this whole time. But this time it was a little bit different because now I had already had a girlfriend. I've seen what it's like, and I honestly just didn't know what to do with myself. I felt like I went through some amount of like a depression, like a sadness. I just felt bad for so long until eventually it started to fade away a little bit. And instead of feeling a sad feeling, it started to turn into this like craving feeling of wanting it again, if that makes any sense. Not with the same girl, but maybe with someone else. So that's when I started looking for a different girl. So as time went on, I took time to myself. I had that little gym arc that every guy has where you work out like vigorously for a while because you think that that's going to solve your problems, when at the end of the day, it really doesn't. I even started playing some video games again just because I wanted to get back into some old habits, see what it was like. And to be honest, that wasn't for me. I even made a ton of videos on social media to test that passion. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed a bunch of small things, but there was nothing that really satisfied the main problem that I have or had, which was just wanting, I guess, attention. Now, at this time, I also started to get really bored because as the sadness faded away more and more, it then became a lot more about like, okay, what do I do now? Like, do I stay single? Do I look for a new girlfriend? I'm not totally sure. So as I'm looking, I eventually came across a bunch of different girls. I found out it was actually pretty easy to talk to girls or go on a first date with a girl, and I went on a lot of first dates. I'm saying like date after date where I would basically go meet a girl, see if I liked her, we would hang out, and then I wouldn't really do anything. Like, I never did anything with these girls other than just go out and eat with them, then go back to my house and just like think about like, do I like this girl? And every time it was no. I was like, this is so boring. Now maybe it's because I had previously been in love or something like that. I'm not totally sure. But the feeling was so different. Like, going on a first date literally felt like talking to a wall most of the time. Not to say there was anything even wrong with these girls, but more because I had no connection. And that's something I never thought was the thing. I thought if somebody was really attractive and you saw them and then you talk with them, then it would be interesting. But that's just not the case. You can be good looking and still be a brick wall to talk to. It went on for months and months of these weird periods of like meeting new girls and like just having that same interaction over and over where I would talk to them and then I wouldn't really like them that much until eventually I came across this one girl. So this girl, we actually had a really weird first date. It was not anything like any normal first date. The difference is, instead of going out to some random place, we decided to literally just hang out in my car because it was way too late. That being said, I did not do anything with this girl. Like I said, that's like not who I am. Yeah, it was the middle of the night, kind of like an empty parking lot, and we just kind of sat there and talked. And this was the first time in months that I had actually felt a connection. I actually really liked this girl just based on talking to her because she seemed genuine, which I really cared about. She seemed like she wasn't just there for like some random hookup, which is something I didn't want. And little did I know, that's actually very common a lot with girls, is they're just there to like hook up and leave, which is, I thought that was like a lot of guys sort of thing, but no, it goes both ways on that. But this girl specifically did not seem this way at all to me. So as me and this girl are talking, my phone starts going off, and you would think this is like maybe a good thing, but for me, it's not a good thing. I don't like when girls instantly know that I have a social media platform, that I have like over 1 million followers or anything, because then you don't know the reason that they're actually there. So instantly, when my phone started going off, I started scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. Like, do I hide my phone? Do I turn it off? Like, I'm not sure what to do because, like I said, I don't want this girl to know that I have any following whatsoever. So I kind of just like tuck my phone away, and then I look over at her, like I make a glance, and I start like grinning a little bit. And instantly right then and there, I was like, oh no, she seems like she knows something is up and I don't know what she knows. And then she asked me something that I was not expecting at all. She's like, oh, are those girls texting you? And instantly I just got like a sense of relief. I was like, oh, so she doesn't think that it's like social media, like TikTok or anything like that. She thinks that I'm just talking to a bunch of girls, which also felt kind of weird because It was our first date, so I don't know exactly why she would care about that. But she kept asking me, like, what are the girls you're talking to? And I couldn't tell. I don't know why, but, like, I could tell she was, like, joking. But a part of her seemed like she was, like, kind of serious. Like, she was getting defensive or something, which, once again, I found very weird, considering the fact that, like, this is literally our first date. Like, even if I was talking to other girls, like, why would that matter to her? So anyway, the day continued. We continued talking, and eventually we decided we want to go somewhere to get some food, like a snack or something. So she says to pull off. She puts in, like, a location on my phone on, like, the map, and we just go. So I start driving. I get there, and it's just like a gas station, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're just gonna get some food. So I go in, grab some stuff, come back, and we kind of just, like, had a good time there. Once again, just kind of, like, eating food, chilling. Nothing was really crazy, nothing like that. But one thing I noticed is that she was, like, bouncing her leg a lot. And this is going to sound so confusing, but she was, like, extremely hyperactive, like, with her leg. Nothing else. She didn't talk like she was hyper, nothing like that. Just her leg was bouncing a lot. And I'm like, why is she so anxious? Like, I feel like she's not nervous because of the date. Like, we've been talking for, like, over an hour now. There has to be something else. I just don't know what it is. So eventually I kind of just, like, forget about it, go to her house, drop her off. And then as I'm sitting in my car ready to go home, I'm like, this is, like, the feeling that I've been looking for this whole time. Like, this might be the perfect girl. But there were some, like, weird tendencies about her, like the leg bouncing thing or whatever. But mind you, this girl literally had, like, the perfect face. She had, like, blonde hair, blue eyes. Like, she was one of the most attractive girls I've seen. And I was very surprised that this girl was even single, considering the way she acted. Like, her personality was good. Nothing about it made any sense to me. I'm like, why is this girl single? Like, something has to be, like, off with her. I don't know what it is. And that kind of, like, set a feeling in the back of my head, like, okay, this girl seems a little too good to be true. What's wrong with her? So as I'm driving home, she texts me saying, like, drive safe and all this. And I'm just like, this girl is just, like, a little too perfect. Like, I just, like, don't get it. So I go home, you know, do my own thing for the next couple of days, go back to just, like, hitting the gym, playing guitar, playing some, like, video games occasionally, posting on social media, you know, just, like, my normal daily habits. And then days later, she texts me to come hang out again. And I'm like, okay, I'll do this. But this time, she's like, come to my room. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, our second date ever, I'm going straight to her house, which I don't know why. I guess that's not that bad of a thing, but, like, a lot of times I feel like it's better to go out rather than just going straight to someone's house. But I was like, maybe it's not that bad. So I end up driving and I go to her house. As I'm there, I meet her dad, and her dad gives me, like, a handshake, and he's like, I've heard good things about you. And I'm just thinking in my head, like we just met. Like, I didn't think it was that weird. I didn't really think anything of it. I just, like, was like, yeah, it's good to meet you. Kept walking. You know, I try to have my manners with parents always. So I go to her room, and this is where things start to get kind of weird. Instantly, when I got to her room, I smelled the smell of weed. And something about me is I don't smoke and I don't drink. I try to stay away from all of that stuff as much as possible. But all I can think in my head is, like, if she smokes or something like that, like, why would she be hiding it from me? Then when we go to, like, turn on a movie. I guess I'm just, like, sitting in her bed at this point. She has no furniture in her room other than her bed. So, like, we had to go there. And I was like, this is, like, kind of a little, like, sexual for a second date, because that was not my intention to, like, hook up with another girl. That's just not what I wanted to do. So we go there, turn on a TV show, and I look over and I see smoke. And I'm like, what is this smoke? Like, what's going on? Then I see in her hand she has a vape, which, by the way, do what you want. I don't really care. But when a girl has a vape, I don't know why, anytime I've ever met a girl who vapes, they're always, like, extremely just, like, mischievous for whatever reason, and they get into trouble. And later I found out that that was the case with her. So now, jokingly, I call her out about her vape. I'm like, hey, you didn't tell me you knew that. Like, what is this? Are you a fiend or whatever? I'm just, like, messing with her. And she started to get kind of defensive, but also in, like, a joking way, so it wasn't that bad. But as I'm sitting there watching this show, she's nonstop hitting it over and over and over until eventually the vape literally dies, like, in her hands. And I'm like, okay, this girl's, like, completely addicted, whatever. The rest of that hangout session was, you know, fine. We just, like, watched the show, whatever, and then eventually I left. But this time leaving, I was going to go on a trip with my friends. So I end up going on this trip, and when I was out, this is where everything even went more downhill. So, I'm out there having a good time, making content, recording stuff. I'm in like LA, and she keeps sending me these texts saying like, I know you're talking to other girls, all this stuff. I'm like, we like just met, like what's happening? My suspicions were right. She was like extremely attached, and like it was insane because we only hung out a few times. And all I can think in my head now is like, this girl has to have like some sort of problems. Like, I don't know. So I kind of just ignore the text, go back to hang out with my friends, doing my own thing. And then by the end of that night, I go to check my phone, and I have a slurry of texts, like literally like so many texts that it's just like insane. Anywhere between like 20 and 30. And I'm like, okay, this girl is like legit, like crazy. So then I go to check my like calls, because I was on do not disturb. You can turn your phone on a setting where you get no calls, no text. That's what I had it on. So I turn it off, and instantly when I turn it off, she calls me. So I'm thinking like, this girl was probably literally texting me in the moment that she saw me turn off my do not disturb or something, and instantly called me. So I pick up the phone, answer, and instantly it was like one of those scenes, like I jerk my head away. She was screaming in my ear, telling me I was like getting with other girls and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm just like not doing that. Like, what are you talking about? And we just went back and forth for like 5 to 10 minutes, just like nonstop, her yelling at me. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I actually don't know what I'm gonna do. I feel bad for this girl. Maybe she has like problems. I have no idea. So now after a pretty long call, eventually I'm like, okay, I'll just like sort things out with you when I get back. So a few days go by, it's my time to get on the flight. I'm getting on the plane, whatever. She texts me like normal, by the way, for the next few days that I was on this trip, like completely normal, like nothing happened. So I go home, and then I tell her I'm home, and she's like, we should hang out. So I'm like, all right. I'm down to hang out with her again. Like, everything seems fine, I guess. Maybe she was just having a bad night. I have no idea. And then I go to her house. Now, this is where it gets really bad, because mind you, earlier, and I didn't mention this, but earlier when I had first met her, I told her my intentions was not to like hook up or anything like that. Like, I was actually very against that at the time, especially just because I wanted to like genuinely like maybe have a girlfriend or like take something longer term, and not, I don't know, it's just like every person in this generation has this whole like hookup culture thing, and I just didn't want that. So as I'm sitting there in her room watching her show, I could tell that she was trying to pull something on me this night. She was wearing these pajamas that were like really loose, and I'm not gonna lie, I was not looking, but I could just tell it was so loose around this area. Like, if she moved any wrong way, it would have been bad. You would have been able to definitely see something there. So we're sitting there watching the show, and then for the first time, she like literally like puts her hand like on my face, like she was trying to kiss me or something. And I'm just like sitting there, I'm kind of feeling uncomfortable, because like I said, I was really like just trying to like at least like wait for this. Like, I just didn't want to do this, right? And then eventually she literally tries to get me to look, and I can tell she kept like touching this part of her shirt, and I refused to look because, one, I thought it was funny that I was not engaging in that, because she's like this really attractive girl, so like obviously any guy is gonna be like trying to look, and I was just like, I'm just gonna keep looking at the TV, because I genuinely did not care about that. Like, I truly did not. So I'm just sitting there, and she eventually started literally getting like mad at me, until eventually she like got on top of me. And this is where it gets really bad. I'm not going to go into detail, but basically she was trying to get me to hook up with her, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. Like, I can't do this. I said it in a joking way, though, so it didn't seem that bad. I didn't say it in a way that it was like all like I don't know. I just didn't say it in like a serious way. I said it in a joking way. And then instantly she got off, and she got mad, like really mad. She started screaming at me, saying all this, saying that her last boyfriend cheated on her, saying all this whole time. So eventually I'm like, I should probably leave. Like, I'm sorry. So I get up, get in my car, and I just sit there like, what just happened? And then eventually she calls me. And when she called me, she literally was like crying, screaming, going crazy, saying like, I'm so sorry, like apologizing, all this. And I'm just driving home, and I'm like telling her like, it's okay. Like, you didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Like, it's me. Like, I don't know. I just don't want to do any of that stuff. So sorry if I made you feel bad about yourself or anything. And then as I'm driving, the thought pops in my head, and I actually don't know the answer to this, but my guess is that she was just trying to get revenge on her boyfriend. So I'm sitting there thinking like, I thought I finally found a genuine connection with somebody. Then to come to find out that either one, she was just trying to be like the rest of the people in this generation, trying to like hook up or whatever, or she was just trying to get like revenge on a guy, whatever it was. I don't know. But now looking back, I'm just like, bro, it would have been so much better if I had just focused on myself. And the entire time I was with her, at all times, all I could think about is like when I can get back to working, when I can get back to doing my stuff. And then from this point forward, I pretty much have not even tried to talk to girls because I just need to focus on myself. And I truly do think that the right person comes at the right time, and it's not something you have to force. And now, actually, after being like single for a while, I actually feel so much better about myself, and I really just do not even want a girlfriend at all. Like, even if the right girl came in my life right now, I just don't want that. I just want to work really hard, and I feel like I won't be available, whatever. I just want to do my own thing, you know what I mean? So I'm glad it turned out this way, but this is your warning that sometimes focusing on yourself is better than trying to get a girlfriend, even if you're lonely.